And we're rolling. Hello, it's the 28th of June, and here is your tarot reading. So your question was basically just twofold and very general. You were asking over the next 3 months, where does it, what's going to be going on with your life? So from the perspective, especially of job, and you said your personal life. So I'm going to look at that as like. Personal life, I'll look at like friends or romance or whatever. We'll see what cards come up, and we'll see how that looks. So to start with, you gave me that 9-digit number while you were thinking about your question, and I used that to draw these two cards from these two decks. This is a set of two oracle decks that are mixed together: the Gods and Titans oracle and the Goddesses and Sirens oracles from Stacey DeMarco, illustrated by Jimmy Manton. This is my favorite oracle, decks. And so that was the 45th card in the deck. And then I drew a tarot card for you, and that was the 9th card. So I did some numerology on the number you gave me to come up with the numbers 9 for the tarot, and then 45 for the oracle deck. So if the numbers 9 and 45 mean anything to you, just kind of tuck that in the back of your head. If someone was born in 1945, if someone was born in the 9th month, like someone in September, that would be, that might help you figure out who's being referred to if a person comes up or whatever. So keep those numbers in mind as we do the reading. And let's get started. So the oracle card I used to define the theme for the reading. So let's see what we've got here. Prometheus, you've got altruism. Okay, that's an interesting card to come up. So I feel like either in terms of job, in terms of what you're doing, or perhaps in terms of your personal life. If we're looking at a theme of altruism is going to, what I would say would be, are you planning on doing some volunteer work? Are you planning on doing something where you are either not compensated, or if you are taking, I don't know how to say it, like if you were billing someone for your time by the hour, would you be taking less than you normally would, less compensation than you normally would? If you were a lawyer, this would be like pro bono work or whatever. Or altruism might be helping someone in need and not asking for anything in return. So if someone you know is ill and they need taken care of, I see something like that will come up for you in the next 3 months, an opportunity to be altruistic with your time and your efforts, or time and effort. That's pretty much everything, everything right there. So so we'll look at that. And then the tarot card that I drew, what we'll do is we'll save this one for the end. I like to use it to kind of sum up the reading, and we'll see what that has, because that's the one tarot card we're going to pull that is like really imbued with your energy. So we'll put the altruism aside. And I think what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to draw two foundations, because you're looking at two very fundamental aspects of your life. I'm going to draw 3 cards for the job, and then 3 cards for your personal life. And we'll start there. And then we'll clarify. If we need to pull more cards to clarify, we'll do that. So let's see what happens. So I'm going to draw 3 for the job. Okay, and then let me draw 3 for your personal life. Okay, let's see what we've got so far. Job, and then personal life. Okay, so let's talk about the job first. So the first card, you got a major. Let me see, you got 2. This is interesting. So I feel like just to kind of look at the overall but the tone of these cards, it's very interesting. So the structure is parallel here. You've got, if you look at these as sort of the immediate past, present moment, and where you're headed. I don't like to say just purely past, present, future, because I feel that's too broad. I look at this as like what's been going on, what's going on, what's going to be going on, right? So very, very attached to the present. I like those verb tenses for this kind of reading. So you've got here two majors in the past component. You've got two court cards in the present moment, and then you've got two minor arcana cards in the future. So that structure is very interesting. So I feel like you're coming out, this means that, to me, that you're coming out of a very significant period of your life where either some significant changes have been made, or you've come to some sort of significant realization, or you've been really, something has developed, right, in the immediate past. And then in the future, I feel like, okay, because the past has had this significant development, right? Where you're headed is like, okay, the natural conclusion to this big idea that happened over here, this big change of heart, of change of mind, or whatever it might be over here, whatever the learning was over here. Now you're coming into a period of implementation. And you know what? This actually, this is June 28th, 2020 for posterity. This actually jives with the astrology right now, because we're in a Mercury retrograde, and we're going to be coming out of a Mercury retrograde. So kind of Mercury, and a lot of planets are retrograde right now. So basically what that's kind of saying is like, what's been going on is setting things up, and then the execution is happening in the future. So I feel like the structure of the cards here is totally in line with what's astrologically happening right now, this week, month. So that's also very interesting. So anyway, I feel like the significance of the minor, like heading into a place of the minors, I feel like, okay, you're just executing on this other stuff that's been brewing for a long time, in general, right, in your life, regardless of which area, since there's the parallelism here. And then the court in the middle, I feel like, okay, it's just kind of like, in order to execute, okay, so you've got the big decision making, or the big foundation, or whatever it was down here that was, you know, you laid the foundation over here. Then you've got the execution, and I feel like the present moment is all about determining, okay, what kind of with the court cards, what kind of archetype now is driving, is going to be driving everything. So so to look specifically now at the cards that you pulled for the job, the Hermit reversed, I read reversals as blocked energy, just like, and however I want to interpret blocked energy. So which is most commonly delay. It is just something that's difficult, or something that takes longer than you anticipated, something like that. So I feel like the Hermit, for me, what that's telling me is that, you know, there was a period of time in terms of work where you were trying to figure something out to do with your work, like maybe where your career was going to go, whether you wanted to change career, whether maybe you wanted to change jobs. Like, this is like a period where you're really doing some internal examination. And so the Hermit emerges from like the cave where he was meditating or whatever, carrying the lantern, right? And so to me, the lantern is the lantern, and the light within that lantern is all of the knowledge or the insight that he gained during that period of introspection. And the other significant part about the fact that it's in this lantern means that light is still external to himself. Like, he's been given the insight, the universe, like the energy is kind of gathered, he's gathered it from the universe or whatever, but it's not assimilated into him yet. Right? It's still external to him. So there's still some time that needs to pass before that fully becomes integrated into who he is. So this is kind of making sense with the progression. And I feel like either, you know, you've been thinking about whatever that is for a long time, you've been introspective for a long time, or it was tough. And by tough, I mean maybe it didn't take a long time, but it could have been a very tough circumstance that you were in that made you have to go inward to figure out what about my job? What do I need to do about my job to make it more fulfilling for myself? Or what do I have to do about my job in order to receive more compensation so I can live the lifestyle that I want to live, or, you know, whatever that is. Now the Page of Cups, I'm going to read into this that there is an element of, but actually with the two of these cards, I feel like there's an element like where the conclusion here, that the next step is to some degree starting over. Not necessarily in a new career, but maybe starting over in a position where you have to take a lower title, or starting over meaning something has to be begun again, because pages, you've got the Page of Cups here. Pages are beginners. They're debutantes. They're young. They're adolescent. They don't have the experience of adulthood yet. So to me, that means that I feel like there might be an element of your having to go in a different direction. And since it's cups, I would say that there's one of the driving factors might be emotional fulfillment. That, you know, something about what you're doing is not fully emotionally fulfilling, so therefore you have to start over again on the path to emotional fulfillment in the area of your life that pertains to your job. Or the other way I could read this is that, you know, if it's not about emotional fulfillment, it's about something else. What it's saying is that in this new area of job exploration, it might be that you need to start over again, and there's going to be a ramp up period where you have to build to the point where there's going to be emotional fulfillment, and at the beginning there won't be, or at the beginning it will be small, and it'll take time before the emotional fulfillment component about wherever this is headed, this job journey is headed, it'll take time before it builds up, because you're kind of beginning in that respect. So, and then where the job's headed, you got the Five of Wands. So wands for me, when if cups on a job reading to me are about emotional fulfillment, wands are closely related to that, but they're more about like passion. And I look at those two things as differently. Like wands in a job reading to me are about, you know, what is it that the discipline that you're working in, or the area that you're working in, does it align with your will, your soul's purpose in life, the fire inside you? Because wands are the suit of fire. So to me, basically where you're headed and the work that needs to be done is some alignment of the career with the fire inside of you. Now, you got the Five of Wands, so if we look carefully at the Five of Wands, you'll see that everybody's dressed very similarly. They're all similar in age. They're all standing on level ground. So basically, it's a whole bunch of people fighting, right? But I mean, I feel like this is like practice fighting. They're not like, this is not war. This is, it's conflict, but it is friendly conflict, the type of stuff that you just have to do in life. It's not like particularly belligerent. So I'm thinking that basically there's going to be a bit of struggle. In fact, the number 5 in tarot is about struggle to some degree. So there's going to be some sort of struggle with the will, with your will or your passion and whatever is going on with your job. Whether this has to do with basically like you, what you want to do. There might be disagreements with your peers, like people who are on the same level as you, or it could just be that you're moving into a place of job where everybody around you, you're not the decision maker, you're not the experienced person, you're not the, what else? Well, you're not the most experienced. You're pretty even with everybody else, or you are. It's hard to get decisions made, or it's hard to get things done because everybody has a different opinion, and there's nobody who can be the full leader or the boss or something like that. So, you know, but you're asking about the next 3 months. I wouldn't worry about the fact that it's like this. Because I feel like you're coming out of the significant area of the life, and you're moving into now the implementation, right? You've done the planning, the design, the planning, design, what's another word that I'm thinking of? You've been doing the planning, right? Or the thinking, or the development of all of your ideas. And now it's time for the execution, and the execution, you just have to do shit, right? That's pretty much it. So I'm going to leave the job for a second. Let's look and see what's going on in the personal life. The personal life, I feel like, again, there's like the major in the past. So I feel like you're coming, the Fool you got, which is great. The Fool, to me, one of the big signs of the Fool to me is the fact that it's number 0. I equate the 0 with an egg. In tennis, in English, we say love 4-0 when you're scoring tennis. Love sounds like the word love, but it actually comes from the word from French, l'œuf, egg, right? And so, what are eggs? They're like a microcosm of like life. And then when they crack open, you're born into a new life, right? Even the sun kind of looks like very white and egg-like in this particular card because the sky's already yellow. So you've got this white as opposed to like having a yellow sun. So to me, it's like, okay, the egg has now hatched open. And that was like the significant thing that's happened in the past. So I feel like there's been something on a personal development level where it needed its gestation period. It needed the period of like the period of pregnancy, the 9 months that it takes to form a baby in a woman's womb. All of that had to happen, and then boom, the egg cracked, and now you're kind of setting forth on the journey, and you're having now you're ready to set all of whatever was developed, whatever the recipe you were following. You're now ready to reap the fruits of that and actually go on the journey. Now here, you got another court card, so I feel like the archetypical energy that you're drawing on, the Queen of Swords. So I feel like whatever was coming out over here, it was a lot to do with ideas, or it could be, the swords are about communication. So if there's a project that involves communication, like a writing project, a teaching project, what else? Like a podcast where you're talking, it could be something like that. Whatever the project is, I would say that there's a transformative element to it because there's a lot of butterfly imagery in the Queen of Swords. Like on the throne, there's some, let me pick it up. On the throne, there's some butterflies. The crown is made of butterflies, and butterflies come from caterpillars, and that's a very significant transformation that happens, right? So there's the transformative energy here. There's the air energy of it being with all about thoughts, the mind, that sort of stuff. It was reversed, so whatever this is, I feel like it's going to be tough. It could be tough because like whatever, maybe you're not an airy person normally. Maybe you're driven by emotions normally, and doing things that are logical is not intuitive for you. So that could be why that this is turned and reversed. That could be the blockage here, that being the Queen of Swords right now in order to execute on this plan that was laid for your personal life. Maybe it's not the intuitive or the natural way of doing things, but it seems like that's the requirement to progress forward in this area. And then if we look at the future card, it's also blocked. So this, I feel like the personal journey is kind of tough. I feel like the job, the toughness is in the past, and now you just got to hanker down and do it. To me, like since the reversal pattern is actually the opposite here, I feel like it was easier coming up to the present moment in your personal life. Like it was more natural, intuitive, whatever you want to say, to get to this point where this new way of living has been birthed, but executing on it's going to be harder because these are both reversed. Now, in terms of where you're headed, I feel like the emotions in the future, this guy's kind of like despondent, a little bit in despair. He's focusing on these empty cups that are before him, and he's like at the side of him, there's this hand coming out of the sky offering him this chalice. And I don't know about you, but I would notice if a hand came out of a cloud to my side and then was offering me a golden chalice. I would probably notice. He did not. So that what that means is that he's fully, on an emotional level, he's fully focused on what's already around him and not looking for new opportunities. Or, all these cups are empty. It could be focused on what he doesn't have, and then like the cups that he already has, and now a new one is being offered to him. And it's also reversed. So I feel like in terms of your personal development, I would be, since tarot is about the present moment and it's about the energy of the present moment, anything that is in the future can be changed, right? So to me, what the lesson of this card is, like, what do we do to turn this card up, right side up, and replace it with something more positive? Because right now, he is focused on what he doesn't have, but there's a divine opportunity that he's at risk of missing. divinely offered opportunity that he's at risk of missing here. So I feel like you have an opportunity in store in your personal life, whatever you're trying to work on and developing in your personal life, whether that's friendships, whether that's romance, whatever area, you know what it is because you've been thinking about it for a long time. You need to do some work in order to figure out what it is that's coming up because you've asked for it, right? You just need to figure out what it is, and now what can you do? What can you change to make sure it doesn't pass you by, to make sure that you don't miss it? So like if this were my reading and I wanted to do what's called tarot magic, I usually have a spare deck so I can pull out another card, but I'm not sitting near any other decks right now. Like a good card to work with would be the Ace of Cups, right? The Ace of Cups is fully focused on the divine opportunity that's being offered to you on an emotional level. So if that's kind of what this card is indicating here that you might miss, let's work with the actual thing that you might miss. So the Ace of Cups might be a really good card to try to put on your altar. If you have an altar, you do something like that, or put under your pillow, or work with some way, with your spirit guides and stuff like that. So I think I've covered all of that stuff. So now I'm going to draw, before we get to your card, I'm going to draw two more. I'm going to draw a card, just like some advice cards. I'm going to draw like a what to do card and a what not to do card. So first I'm going to draw the what to do card. Okay, so this is the advice of what to do, and now we're going to do what not to do. Okay, this one. Okay, so so this is interesting. So basically, this is kind of resonating with what we're talking about over here with the Queen of Swords. You got the Knight of Swords. So the what to do card is about taking the ideas and running with them. Right? This is the fastest moving horse in the tarot of the knights. There's the four horses, like one of the horses is standing still. The others are kind of like at a canter gallop sort of thing. This horse is like booking it. Like he's full out running. So to me, and knights are on a quest too. A quest, this is Knight of Swords and Air. So this is the intellectual quest, the quest of ideas, the quest of logic, mental energy, all of that stuff. So if that's blocked over here, the advice is like, okay, all of the ideas, you really need to take them and run with them. Okay, so whatever that means to you, take the ideas that have been formed over here from these major arcana cards, all the stuff that's being born, that like the energy that came out of the meditation or the reflection, all of that stuff, take that energy and run with it. And this card is enforcing the same idea too. The reason why you're taking the energy and running with it is because you put forth so much thought into it in the past, right? You laid a solid foundation for where you wanted to head. So that with the solid foundation, you can now move in the direction that you've been planning for. So what this is saying, in a way, it's affirming all of the work that you've been doing in the past, whatever that might be, like the journaling, the thought, the planning, all of that stuff. And it's saying, yes, it's whatever you've been thinking about, that's the right thing to do, run with it. And we got the Hanged Man as the card as to what not to do. And that's just reinforcing exactly the same idea. So like you've basically got two cards here that are affirming and just emphasizing the fact that you're already on track. You're on the right track, okay? So because the Hangman is all about changing perspective, right? Like the Hanged Man is upside down. He put himself there because he needed a change in perspective. He needed to kind of, I don't want to say self-torture, but like he needed to be deprived of the worldly and just kind of like be an ascetic, if you know that word, be like a little bit like a monk, a denial, like to go through a period of forced spiritual evolution to gain a new perspective on things. And the whole, him being upside down is the new perspective and gaining a new perspective. You don't need to do this because that's the action not to take. And so that's just kind of emphasizing that you're on the right path. So I really love this. So it's just kind of saying we're spot on. And then the one caution is that, what to do to like make these sort of like not ambiguous, but these are not the most positive cards. What can we do to ease the journey forward, right? So I would work with the Ace of Cups here, like figuring out how to not miss the divinely offered opportunity for emotional fulfillment. And then over here, your will is going to be fighting with a whole bunch of other people. How do we turn the frown upside down on that card? You know, you could use just to actually make it parallel. Again, you could be working with the Ace of Wands over here, right? So to rise above the fray. The Seven of Wands, in fact, would be a really good card to use over here as well, because like that's like the Seven of Wands is like coming at this again, but from a higher vantage point, because you have the experience to rise above the fray. So I would say Seven of Wands would be a good card to work with here. The Ace of Wands would be a really good card to work with there. But in the meantime, you're totally on the right track. Yay. So now let's kind of just sum it up. Let's see what you drew here. Oh, the Magician. Okay, so in fact, I mean, this kind of harmonizes perfectly, and it's just kind of like hammering what I just said home again, because basically run with the ideas, because all of the work that you've put in is spot on. You don't need to change your perspective, and then now this is just saying you absolutely can do it, the Magician. And this kind of harmonizes with the solution I was going on over here, like about working with the Aces or maybe the Seven of Wands or whatever. You can actually make the journey happen, because if you're the Magician, right, you can manifest what it is. You have all the tools at your disposal that you need to manifest what you need to make the journey of the job and the journey of your personal life go in the direction that you decided you want it to go in. So, yay. This is kind of a pretty positive reading, except for the fact that, you know, the work is going to be, it's not the easiest work, right? But isn't it really comforting to know that like the work that you're going to be doing is actually what you're meant to be doing, right? And like the path is clear on all of that stuff. Lastly, we'll just come back to the theme card, altruism. So I don't know if there's an element in either the personal stuff or the job stuff where you have to do something nice for people or put forth effort for people without expecting something in return. I'm trying to think if this resonates with this sort of stuff at all. It does. I feel like, you know, this is a person who's focused on stuff and he's not seeing what's being offered. Kind of ties into altruism in terms of the not being compensated. And then this too, like, you know, if this were the scene that your boss is looking at work, if everybody's on the same par, that means you're not receiving praise. Nobody's receiving praise because no one looks like they're the best, right? Everybody's on the same level. So work without compensation, altruism, like, you know, it might be that the theme could be that you're not being compensated or you're not being recognized, receiving the recognition you deserve for something to do with work, right? But so yeah, that's a little bit of caution, but I hope this actually is really just more the positive meaning of altruism, that it's like you're going to do some charity work, you're going to do something for someone without asking for something in return, and it's just kind of like a thing, right? But you absolutely have the power to make everything that you want happen, right? The stuff that was decided over here. So, yay. I think that's all I'm going to say. I hope this was helpful to you, and take care.